Hello, scholars. This is Dr. McGill, and today I would love to talk to you about rubrics. How many of you are thinking about or engaged actively in rubrics? Let's break that down and see just how we can most effectively implement and employ these various rubrics. So, as with every topic, I am very to the point and I say, what is the point? Why do we need to know about rubrics? Well, as a nurse educator or as anyone who has the responsibility of evaluating another person, we have that little small factor of subjectivity. My preference, what I think would make this, performance better, what would be something to enhance what I just saw. And because of that subjectivity in education, in academia, we can run the risk of having grievances and other things that can take away from our overall awesomeness of what we are as an educator. It takes away from our validity, and it makes it where we cannot substantiate the assessment evaluation that we have just rendered because there was subjectivity in the mix. We can't validate why we did what we did. And I will never forget when I was enrolled in my master's program, and I will be just as bland as I can be as to not deliver any unwanted news through this cast here, but I will never forget that I turned in an annotated bibliography, and it was very taxing. Took me forever to write this paper, and my instructor gave me a C. And I looked in the grade book. I said, a C. Now, this is not what Maud McGill gets. I do not get a C on anything. I only made one C in my life, and that was my first fundamentals of nursing test, and I vowed that that would not happen again. So I go and look to see what in the world. Why do I have a C on this paper? Not the first comment. The rubric was not utilized. There was a C in the grade book with not comment the first, other than this paper reads like a 12th grader. And that was it. No exampling, justification, nothing but subjectivity. And so, of course, I had to go and ask this particular instructor, what exactly do you mean? And the grade was indeed changed because there was no justification for what was put there. That is what I'm talking about. Rubrics help to give us some type of dimensional guideline of what we are doing, the scoring guides of how we keep each other honest. It gives us consistency in the evaluation process where we're not allowing implicit bias or anything to that extent to guide how we evaluate this student in this very critical aspect of what they are trying to learn. It also provides some mechanism of authenticity. It gives us some type of check and balances to keep us honest, just in case we remembered when, and we decided to let when we remember when guide how we evaluate the student. It demystifies, it breaks down, it gives us logical, strategic reasoning why this assignment is relevant in the grand schema of learner objectives, course objectives, and dare we say programmatic objectives. It gives us the point. We are able to see that correlation. Rubrics are roadmaps that truly keep the validity of the assignment at an essential element. It keeps us to that understanding of this is why this assignment is important. And here's what I must do in order to show my faculty that I understand with all competency this formative assessment or this summative assessment, whatever it is that you're using this rubric for. And then when I am evaluated, I know clearly why I was not rendered a proficient or an exemplary performance, because the rubric is utilized. There is great point, scholars, in utilizing rubrics. And when you develop assignments in your various roles, it would behoove you to consider implementing a rubric. Now we have the fun part. How do we create this rubric? Since rubrics are important and there are several benefits associated with it, how do I create it? Well, you first have to start with the parts of the rubric. Each rubric is going to be basically a table. It is basically going to be go into Word, insert a table, and then you're going to calculate how many columns and rows you need based on whatever your assignment is. And you're going to determine the parts of that rubric based on the assignment, which is then going to be based on whatever learner outcome you are trying to achieve. So the parts of the rubric is going to have that comprehensive criteria. Then we're going to have a performance level and then descriptors that tell us if that student has reached those performance levels. So let's run through that one more time. We are going to have where our assignment is logically aligned to one of the student learner outcomes, which is going to be aligned to the course outcomes, which will be aligned to the program outcomes. All of these things must work together in order for us to have a logical reasoning for giving assignment and not ever being associated with busy work or just doing something to be doing it. Then once we have aligned, this is the reason why this assignment exists, then we're going to read what the assignment says and we're going to identify comprehensive criteria that is in our assignment instructions, and I'm going to show you that in just a minute. Once that criteria has been identified, then we will have performance levels. That's where you have the proficient, needs improvement, not evident, and for some we may have 4, we may have exemplary, and then derivatives thereof. But that's the gist. They either are competent, they have some areas where they need improvement, or you didn't see that aspect at all in that paper or that submission. And then we have the descriptors that go under that performance level as it pertains to that criteria. And that's where the tricky part kind of comes into, but we're about to go into all of that. So here is an example of a assignment narrative, and now we have said, okay, here's our comprehensive criteria. So I asked that the student create a concept map that analyzes one of the 5 primal fears in humanity, and then that they have the fear they're analyzing in the middle, along with the following interactions. Interactions are the lines that are on the concept map, or if it is a mural type ordeal where we can see the logical transition based on the mural's progression. So how do the fears manifest? How do we see them? What are potential complications of unresolved fear? What are strategies to alleviate that fear? And then I asked that the assignment include a short narrative so that we're able to understand the concept map and its intent and give us direction when we read it. And then that narrative should be in APA format, and the references should be retrievable and credible. So I have come in and I've highlighted what I want to see. And you may even go as detailed as making sure that it is a concept map that we see and not something else that they could create. So not just a narrative within itself. Whatever it is that you have decided to do, all of that criteria that's listed in your instructions must be present in your rubric. We are not delivering assignments to just do something just because. Everything has a purpose, an intentional purpose. And as such, we will give that purpose, that intention, the attention that it deserves. So now we will write, and I do not have this on a whiteboard. I do have this on a PowerPoint software, and so you may see the editing options there, but we're just going to write these comprehensive criterion that we identified. So we said the concept map, then we said I can actually put that as a descriptor. Okay, and then we said said complications. Okay, so now we have identified our criteria. When I talk about descriptors, I want you to understand the following. First of all, descriptors are going to be very explicit, specific descriptions of the performance that you expect the student to do based on the score or the marking or the performance rating that has been provided for the student. It is going to spell out each level, each gradation, each option of this performance criterion so that the student understands exactly what performance in this level looks like. When you are utilizing a descriptor for a criterion, there has to be a connection between the different performance levels. So there cannot be a piece of something in the needs improvement and then you don't see that even provided in the proficient. So each section has to show a deterioration, as it were. So we see the perfect example right here in the proficient. Then we see something missing from that perfect example in the needs improvement, and then we don't see it at all in the not evident. There should be that trail of decline that we can see when writing these descriptors. Let's take the concept map and write the descriptors as an example. So I already put the proficient one there because sometimes when I type we have some issues and I didn't have time for that. So the concept map is creative, provides a fear of emphasis that should be in the middle, right? Sorry. And demonstrates a logical connection between each explanation of fear, which would be the identification of primal fear, fear manifestation, complication, strategies, okay? Then what would be a needs improvement is the concept map is provided, but missing one or some of the following elements. And then we just go right here. Creative, provides fear, blah, blah, blah. We're going to copy it and we're going to paste it. Okay, so it's missing one or some of these elements. Now you have either it was perfect and everything was there, or something was missing, or a concept map. Oh goodness, see why I typed it. So either the student did not provide a map altogether, or the map they provided was not related to the topic that was assigned to them. Either way, the map is not applicable to what we are trying to assess. So I took what was perfect, then I took a missing element of perfect, and then I took it didn't relate all together. And now I have threaded the criteria description throughout each level of or gradient, as some of your writings may indicate, of performance. So let's do one more time. Identification of primal fear. So I said that they had to put it in the middle. So let's say that so then this is what I said would be perfect, correct? one of the 5 primal fears, so it has to be one of those 5, is identified and appropriately placed in the middle. So in order to say it needs improvement, and the reason why I did not say that one of the 5 primal fears is not identified is because I already said up here that the concept map doesn't relate to one of the 5 primal fears, so they would have gotten a void, null and void anyway on the entire thing. And then here, not evident, does not provide a location for Okay, so we went from one of the 5 primal fears is identified and appropriately placed in the middle to the fear is there, but it's not in the middle, to there's indication that we're talking about one of the 5 primal fears. However, it is not located on this map anywhere. They just started putting out the indications such as how does fear look, and then what happens when it's unresolved, and then what strategies alleviate it, and then they wrote about it, but they didn't go ahead and do all of that within the same order that we had asked for them to do. So not only do you have a clear understanding of which one of these performances to mark, so you could mark that, you know, they're proficient in both and then they're not proficient here or whatever, but you also have given the student a precursor to what you are looking for. So once you evaluate the student and the student comes back, and let's just say that they made an 80 or something to that extent on there, they clearly know why. If you highlight this one right here, then we know that the fear was not appropriately placed in the middle of the map. They understand why. The rubric is indicating that. But if you are not specific and descriptive and prescriptive in what you're looking for with these different ones, then you would have to owe the student more explanation. And then you have area for subjectivity to manifest as opposed to it being an objective evaluation of the student for, you know, identification of progression or understanding or whatever it is in the course. Rubrics are gravely important, and I hope that this information has been extremely valuable to you. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I deeply enjoy talking about nursing education and just how to make the learning environment more optimal, not just for the students, but also for the academe. We all deserve love, and that's what we're doing right here. We are exposing, experiencing, embracing, and empowering on different topics that make us better. Until the next time, have an outstanding day.